Lorne Greene here, lovely to meet you. Just for a second, put yourself in the shoes of thousands of people overseas. Lorne Greene smiled on camera as Ben Cartwright, but the post-production chaos was anything but. He had marital problems and began to have trouble getting along with his co-stars. His fame also allowed him to influence changes in television production. Even a minor invention he made him wealthy. Your recollection of the Bonanza set is drastically at odds with reality. On February 12, 1915, she entered this world in Ottawa, Canada. His Jewish parents, Daniel Green and Dora Slavin, emigrated to America from the Russian Empire. His mother referred to him as Hyim, although he was officially named Lion Hyon Green. When he initially started school, he went by the name Hyon, but he eventually changed it to Lorne. His own relatives are in the dark as to when that occurred. Even as a young boy, he witnessed his parents' struggles. His father was a shoemaker who went bankrupt in 1929 due to the stock market crash. Like countless other families, they had to start over after losing everything in the Great Depression. His parents, though, saw to it that he attended an elite institution. Despite their hopes, he was never destined to play the violin in a concert. While teaching theater at Algonquin Park's Camp Arohan as a child, he discovered an interest he loved. After gaining experience in the theater, he felt more secure in himself and realized his acting chops. When he enrolled at Kingston's Queen's University in 1932, he had no intention of pursuing a career in acting. Before he joined the university's drama guild and began acting on CFRC, the school radio station, he intended to become a chemical engineer. It was his voice that set him apart, he knew. In order to devote more time to acting, he decided to study languages and became fluent in French and German. By the time he graduated in 1937, he had already decided that being an actress was his dream career. He relocated to New York and enrolled in the neighborhood Playhouse School of Theater to hone his craft. Sanford Meisner, a legendary coach known for developing star players, was his instructor. Even though Greene worked very hard, his job didn't immediately become successful. A radio announcer for the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation, he returned to Canada in 1939 in search of employment. His voice was so powerful and commanding that it stunned everyone. Quickly becoming famous across the nation, he was dubbed the Voice of Canada. However, his role was altered when World War II broke out. Every night he read battle stories as he became CBC's main newscaster. There was a lot of terrible news, including casualties in the military and reports from the front lines. Due to the immense power of his voice, he was dubbed the Voice of Doom by the public. All across Canada, people could hear his radio and television shows, and for many, he made the war feel more real. He was also working at the time as a propaganda picture reader for Canada's National Film Board. He was an assistant on the British war film Churchill's Island, 1941. The film made history by taking home the top prize for Best Documentary Short Subject at the Oscars. The movie's strength was Greene's entrance. Though he was creative, he was also a thinker. His time at CBC was cut short when he created a clock that could run in reverse. Instead of counting down like most stopwatches, this one did the exact opposite. Radio hosts could see the precise amount of time remaining in their shows. When personal computers weren't yet a thing, this was a major benefit. The ubiquitous stopwatch in radio and television greatly simplified editing and improved timing. Greene made a lot of money off of what was essentially a little idea thanks to his product. When he was in Toronto in 1945, he established the Lorne Greene School of Radio Arts. It was there that actors Leslie Nielsen and James Doohan honed their skills. It produced 381 graduates, the vast majority of whom found work in the entertainment industry. However, despite these achievements, the school still struggled to cover its expenses. It was forced to close in 1952 by Greene. He sold the house and moved to Hollywood to pursue acting. At first, Hollywood was unfriendly, although Greene's deep voice, which had been his forte on the radio, made things difficult. He was also involved in live TV shows alongside his independent work. He came across as overly authoritative and serious to the casting directors. Being cast as a strong leader or father figure made it hard for him to do things. Regardless, he persisted. In 1953, he proved he could do more than merely deliver news when he took the lead role in the Broadway production of Othello. His debut film role in a Hollywood production was as St. Peter in 1954's The Silver Chalice. Actor Paul Newman made his film debut in this role as well. Reviewers couldn't get behind Victor Savel's take on the biblical story because of its unconventional style. Opinions were mixed on the piece's artistic ambition. Some loved it, while others found it too staged. Finally, even Newman admitted it was a terrible film. Despite the mixed reviews, Greene felt the film was important. He proved he could give historical and religious elements serious consideration, and he got to appear on film and television. However, the problem of being stereotyped remained. Due to his powerful personality and deep voice, Greene had a hard time landing different types of roles. He opted to embrace it rather than resist it. He had powerful stage parts. He appeared in Edwin Booth in 1958 and The Prescott Proposals in 1953. Among his many television roles were those of Sailor of Fortune 19551958 and Alfred Hitchcock Presents 19551958. He proved he could pull off more than simply villain roles here. Suddenly, the component that altered the course of events arrived. Leslie Nielsen's words of wisdom were the initial catalyst for Lorne Greene's transformation into Ben Cartwright on Bonanza. At the time, Greene could have played either Adam, the eldest son, or Ben, the father, depending on the offer he received. He knew exactly what to do after hearing something from Nielsen. Nielsen warned that playing the father would make the role the show's focal point, saying, "There's no way for you to come out without a hugely important position." Greene, then 44 years old, stepped into the role in 1959. He considered it the pinnacle of his professional achievements. Bonanza was among the earliest television series to feature color when it premiered on NBC on September 12, 1959. The Western views were already breathtaking, but the intrigue was building. Not only was Greene a famous Canadian TV star and radio host, but he was also the showrunner for a highly watched television program. His powerful character and deep voice made him an ideal cast member. He transformed Ben Cartwright into a fatherly figure and wise leader. Ben Cartwright, as he guided his 3 children into adulthood, carried the burden of his past. In addition to transforming his career, playing the role propelled Bonanza to the status of one of the longest-running and most beloved westerns of all time. The program aired for 14 seasons from 1959 to 1973 with 432 episodes. Being one of the most famous dads on TV, he had a hand in all of them. There was a lot more going on in Bonanza than meets the eye. It was well liked by many, and millions of people tuned in each week to watch. Crucial to the plot was Ben Cartwright. He lived on the Ponderosa Ranch close to Virginia City, Nevada, with his 3 sons after losing his wife. The show was able to explore diverse family dynamics because each son had a different mother, which gave them distinct personalities. Adam, portrayed by Pernell Roberts, was an intelligent and conscientious guy. Dan Blocker's Hoss was a courageous and kind man. Michael Landon's Little Joe embodied the group's nastiest and youngest member. The show featured a diverse cast of characters, so it wasn't limited to cowboys and outlaws. Family and doing what's right were also important themes. Greene became famous for his portrayal of Ben Cartwright. His powerful, deep voice made every word seem significant. He could be gentle even when he had to be stern. He counseled his children and helped them through tough times. Ben Cartwright was ranked as the #2 most beloved TV dad of all time in 2007 by TV Guide. That was fun for adults and children alike. Greene had an impact on the individual over time. Ben was a bit harsh at first and would often quote Bible verses to make his points. Still, Greene hoped he could be more than a rough rancher. The use of a firearm was nothing to him. He felt he ought to be gregarious and humorous. That alteration made the character more believable and distinguished Bonanza from other classic westerns of the era. Greene altered the course of the show in addition to his own part. He pondered. His vision for Bonanza went beyond thrilling gunfights to include profound tales of family and morality. During his tenure as host, the show covered groundbreaking topics. The 1964 Bonanza episode, Enter Thomas Bowers, dealt with racism in Virginia City by depicting the mistreatment of an African-American opera singer. Other shows tackled topics like anti-Chinese prejudice and interracial marriage, while remaining faithful to the show's principles of honesty and fairness. These stories depicted societal shifts occurring in the 1960s stories that evoked strong emotions were easy for Greene to write. Because Bonanza was about more than just thrills and spills, it was also about the characters' interactions with one another. He was certain that it would endure. Thanks to that tactic, the show was able to maintain its popularity for 14 years, and even after its 1973 cancellation, new viewers could still enjoy reruns. There was more to Greene's stint on Bonanza than simply playing the piano. Ringo, his 1964 spoken word song, catapulted him to stardom. The story was told by Greene in a deep, dramatic voice rather than singing, with Western-style music playing in the background. Many were quite pleased. At the time, the Beatles were incredibly popular all over the globe, and the name Ringo was particularly noticeable. After hearing the song, which, according to some, featured Ringo Starr, they remained for the narrative. Ringo soared to fame. As of December 5, 1964, it had topped the Billboard Hot 100 chart. Additionally, it peaked at number 1 on Canada's RPM Top Singles chart. A number 1 song and a popular TV show, both happening at the same time, is something very rare for actors. Greene had joined that group of performers. Success for Ringo resulted in additional albums. Several of Greene's albums reflect the impact of his Western persona. His songs sang tales set in a rural or Western setting, much like the well-known cowboy ballads of artists like Marty Robbins. His low voice worked wonderfully with the style. From taking Leslie Nielsen up on his advice to the years spent turning Bonanza into a major hit, Lorne Greene had a profound impact on television and the entertainment industry. He embodied more than just the role of a cowboy on screen. Not only that, but he could sing, write, and put on a fantastic performance. Everywhere you looked, Lorne Greene was the beating heart of the show. Though his influence extended beyond the stage, he was most known for his portrayal of Ben Cartwright, the beloved and sage patriarch of the Cartwright family. He developed strong relationships with Michael Landon and Dan Blocker, his co-stars. They looked up to him as a boss and father figure both on and off screen. They were so close that they made music together, even went on tour and recorded albums. Not the same thing happened with Pernell Roberts. He was uncomfortable in his role as Adam Cartwright, the eldest son on the show. As a trained actor, Roberts sought roles that would provoke thought. He felt like there were too many repeats and Bonanza was too easy. He thought the scripts were lacking in artistic merit and was extremely critical of them. Additionally, he found it annoying to play a role where the protagonist blindly followed his father's instructions. Because Greene considered himself the family patriarch, his wrath made life difficult for him. Despite Greene's best efforts, Roberts remained determined to depart after 6 seasons. He left the show in 1965 in search of more challenging work. As for Roberts and Michael Landon, things got ugly between them too. Their relationship was fraught with animosity and constant criticism. Roberts had no qualms about publicly ridiculing Landon, and Landon had no qualms about publicly challenging Roberts' playing abilities. The already difficult situation became much worse as a result of this stress. The show's creators considered casting a new Cartwright after Roberts' departure, but they swiftly scrapped the idea in the face of fan backlash. They filled the void with new characters like David Canary's Candy, a ranch hand. The group remained united, and the special family-like atmosphere of Bonanza was maintained thanks to Greene's continued presence on set throughout all of these changes. Lorne Greene's life was impacted and revealed different aspects of his journey by his two marriages. He wed Rita Hands first. They tied the knot in 1938 while he was still in the midst of expanding his business. This couple welcomed twins into the world in 1944. The individuals in question were Charles Greene and Belinda Susan Bennett. For over 20 years they were inseparable, but as Greene's star rose, the pressures of Hollywood forced them apart. They were no longer married by 1960, when he had become famous thanks to his role on Bonanza. Nancy Deel and Greene were married after a year. Both in politics and the acting world, she fought tirelessly for change. Gillian Dale Greene was born to them in 1968. Unlike his first marriage, he remained married to this woman until his deathbed. In addition to being an excellent wife, Nancy had considerable influence in her own life. She was an early member of the National Women's Political Caucus and worked with other legislators to advance gender equality and reform foreign policy. Following this, she spearheaded global reform by establishing the Women's Institute of International Relations. His first marriage came to an end during the height of his professional career. Nonetheless, he remained married to his second wife for the duration of his career in television and beyond. Throughout his life, Nancy was there for him, and they were together for 26 years. He was ill in his later years, but she was by his side the whole time. Problems arose following Greene's 1987 ulcer surgery. On September 11th, he passed away with Nancy by his side. Even while he was a household name, Greene never lost sight of what it meant to be a father. My Father's Voice, the biography of Lorne Greene, was written by his daughter, Belinda Susan Bennett, about him. She used anecdotes to reveal the man behind the star in her autobiography. Even though he put in a lot of time on set, he never let his kids down. He was warm and approachable at home, since being a father was his first job. He was a strong, caring, and protective father figure to his children, just like the one he portrayed as Ben Cartwright. He was devoted to his family in ways that went beyond just his home. He became close friends with his Bonanza co-workers and even assisted a few of them in launching successful businesses. Lorne Greene had portrayed Bonanza's Ben Cartwright for 14 years by the mid-1960s. Following the 1973 cancellation of the show, what did he hope to become famous for? Would he forever be remembered as the sage rancher, or would he be able to branch out? In 1978, he did something out of the ordinary, leaving the world of westerns behind. His role as Commander Adama on the science fantasy series Battlestar Galactica was completely new to him. The plot of the show revolved around a band of human survivors who were on the run from a race of mechanized monsters called the Cylons. Eventually, they found a new home on Earth, thanks to Adama, who guided them through space. This was a significant shift for Greene. For years he had ridden horses, but now he piloted a spaceship. At first, he was uncertain about the part. He was interested in seeing if a story of this magnitude could be adapted for television, as he had never encountered science fiction in any form. But as soon as gunfire erupted, he enthusiastically joined in. Amma was a father figure, a protector, and the man who bore the burden of an entire civilization. He was more than simply a military commander. The show was one of the most costly ever produced, with an enormous $1 million going into each episode. Complex plots, massive space battles, and groundbreaking special effects were all part of it. However, it was short-lived, running from 1978 to 1979 for just one season. The network halted production due to the high production costs. The Battlestar Galactica, however, persisted. A large portion of its cult classic status can be attributed to Greene's performance as Adama, the depth of his voice, the show's strong personalities, and the presence of Hey Hey brought the science fiction elements to life. When Greene said he wanted to read more about science fiction, he meant it. He wasn't joking. He read over 30 books and watched over 30 movies, including Star Wars and 2001: A Space Odyssey. As he gained more knowledge about the genre, his liking for it grew. During conversations, he discussed how science fiction influenced his outlook on the future. Also, he mentioned that being in space piqued his interest and made him appreciate Earth's delicate ecosystem all the more. He was prepared, and that paid off. His leadership role as Adama wasn't his only one. He painted a picture of a man grappling with deep ethical concerns about his place in the world and his responsibilities to others. Though it ultimately hurt Greene, Battlestar Galactica was well received by audiences. It was challenging for him to achieve another major hit following Bonanza. Between 1973 and 1982, he appeared in two lesser-known television series. He portrayed Wade Griffin, a retired cop turned private investigator in the 1973-1975 series Griff. It had potential as a show, but it was canceled after only one season due to low viewership. Code Red 1981182 was his next role. He played Joe Rorek, Battalion Fire Chief. The show, created by Irwin Allen, followed a squad of firefighters and featured safety tips interspersed throughout each episode. Like Griff, it was only on for a single season. It came as a surprise that Greene loved music more than acting. At the height of his TV career in 1964, he released the spoken word song Ringo about the notorious criminal Johnny Ringo. The song soared to the top of the Billboard Hot 100 due to its immense popularity. People were enticed to listen to Greene because of its sound. It was unusual for an actor to have singing success. Welcome to the Ponderosa 1964 and Portrait of the West 1966 are just two of his many albums released by RCA Victor. Like his film roles, his songs were captivating due to the vivid stories brought to life by his powerful, deep voice. Despite the demanding nature of his acting career, he made time to pursue this interest. His songs evoke feelings of nostalgia and storytelling, which is why collectors continue to seek them out. Besides acting and music, Greene enjoyed telling stories in other ways as well. He first became an outspoken advocate for animal rights in the 1980s. From 1982 until 1987, he presided over Lorne Greene's New Wilderness, a highly acclaimed Canadian nature documentary series. It was a long time before that, though, that his desire to aid animals started. He funded initiatives to protect endangered species and secretly donated to organizations like the Humane Society. Even though he didn't often express it, those who knew him well could sense the depth of his concern. He used his celebrity to spread the message that everyone should do their part to protect the environment. Prior to his fame from Star Trek, William Shatner was attempting to establish himself in Canadian theater. He crossed paths with Lorne Greene at that moment. They were co-workers at Toronto's Jupiter Theatre in the 50s. Shatner was mentored by Greene, an established actor who recognized his potential. Not only did he instruct him in acting, but he also showed him the ropes of the theater industry. A stock trader at the Stratford Shakespeare Festival in 1955, Greene instructed Shatner in the industry. Although the investment was unsuccessful, it served as a valuable lesson in perseverance. Shatner later claimed that Greene was instrumental in his maturation into a Hollywood star. Behind the scenes, Greene had a reputation for being quite kind. Even though he achieved great success in the entertainment industry, he never hoarded his successes for himself. Charities benefited from his record sales, which he donated to causes like cancer research and animal protection.